Next up, we have Andrew, who's the Managing Director from Venture Minerals.
Thank you, Christy, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to be here presenting at the 7th Battery Minerals Conference. Can't believe it's been 7 years, but again, thank you to the Paydirt team for putting this on, this increasingly popular event. As already said, I'm here to talk about our flagship asset at Mount Lindsay, Tungsten Project in the northwest of Tasmania. I'll also touch on Chalice Mining's JV activities in the Southwest Project in WA here. Now, those of you who don't know, Mount Lindsay has already had nearly $40 million spent on the project. There's over 100,000 metres of diamond core drilling in it. We've already completed an open pit feasibility study in 2012. It is one of the largest undeveloped tin deposits in the world. The project is located already in a Tier 1 ESG jurisdiction, which has already reached net zero emissions with access to renewable energy with hydropower at a time when tin prices are near record levels of around $44,000 per tonne, which for those of you who don't know is 4 times the price of copper. Tin is definitely an EV metal, and certainly the time for tin is now. It's a disclaimer. So, like I said, we've just commenced an underground feasibility study. We've employed a highly experienced underground mining engineer to lead the study, and we're leveraging of all that work and that $40 million of exploration and technical work and metallurgical test work we did previously. So, we're very well positioned. And the view there is to do a smaller, higher grade underground operation. We're reducing our footprint by 80%. We're looking at CapEx, which is definitely sub $100 million. And we're looking to use the hydropower, which means we're going to use battery-driven underground equipment. So very much, the target for the company is not only to have Australia's second tin mine, but also probably the world's first ESG compliant tin mine. So we've got a great opportunity to build something from scratch here in the northwest of Tasmania. The other thing is that we're in a Tier 1 jurisdiction. We're a long strike from Renison Bell. It's been going for 140 years. It's Australia's only tin mine. And we've got great opportunities. We've got 48 EM targets to test, and the drill rig's now moving on to that after having completed the latest round of metallurgical or feasibility drilling. So, stay tuned for that. Chalice, they've been on the ground, beavering away. Joint venture's almost 2 years old now. They came, if you don't know, they came saw us 3 months after discovery of Julimar, and wanted to joint venture in our ground and explore that opportunity, as they call it, a Julimar lookalike. They are currently on the ground drilling at the moment, testing some of those ground EM conductors that we announced back in January. To boot, we've got an iron ore mine we started last year, and unfortunately it was in September when prices were declining, so that's currently on care and maintenance. It's available to start up quite quickly, so there's shipments that we can get on. And I won't touch on these projects, and come to booth 30 if you want to talk a bit more about these, but the Golden Grove North project, we're a long strike to 29 metals there. Great, an area that hasn't been looked at for 30 years, so we've got some pretty exciting EM anomalies underneath some narrow high-grade hits. And next to Impact at Coolant is our Coolant Project, which, we've been in that area for a few years now. So a very similar sort of philosophy and looking at nickel copper PGE targets there as well. Share price, we were $200 million market cap middle of last year when Chalice became active, and the iron ore price is $230 a tonne. We've come back a little bit there, but we've just recently gone up to nearly 8 cents just beginning of this week. So the market cap's hovering around that sort of $110 million mark. In the meantime, the tin price has doubled, so there's certainly, as far as I'm concerned, the market really hasn't recognised the tin value of the asset at the moment. So hopefully after this presentation, you'll agree with me that there's something to be had there. The company, the board, the people have been around since 2006. So when we went into hiatus in 2014, when the commodity prices came off, we kept the team together. That was the critical part. And once we got into the commodity started turning around in 2018, we were able to sort of switch on and get back into our first our iron ore mine, and then secondly, and more importantly, the Mount Lindsay project. So I'll focus, like some advanced assets are in Tasmania. During our hiatus between 2015 through to about 18, we picked up some very strategic and now yielding exploration assets in WA. So on the west coast of Tasmania, 140 years of mining history. In red there, I've got a bitumen road. There's hydropower lines running through our tenement. There's dams either side of us. There's, like I said, 140 years of mining history. There's all sorts of different commodity mines. Australia's only real tungsten mine here at King Islands, just off the coast. Like I said, Australia only tin mine, Renison Bell's just 12 kilometres away from. There's Rosebery, there's Mount Lyell. You know, this is like some of the best mines in Australia, and some of the best engineers, jumbo operators, miners, all come and worked in Tasmania. So there's a proud history there. And it's about 60% of the export GDP of Tasmania, which most people probably don't appreciate it, which is well above what tourism generates. I can tell you that. Tin, for those of you who don't know much about tin, it's all part of this fourth industrial revolution. Everything that's electronic requires solder. Solder is 96% tin. Without it, you don't have the glue. Without it, you can't drive your car anymore. Without it, you can't turn your washing machine on, or you can't even use your phone. So tin is a spice metal. It's in everything. Small amounts. So the tin price goes to $100,000 per tonne. The price of your own iPhone may go up by 50 cents or something like that. So it's not independent. It can't be substituted except by silver, which is still well above the value of tin. So you can see tin is in the solar cells, it's in tin foil, electric vehicles, it's in all the circuitry, it's in the anodes of the batteries, as well as lead acid, as well as lithium ion, and so it's very important for energy storage. And like I said, solder is a key driver, but what's going to happen as the 5G network rolls out, there's going to be a lot of circuitry, so you're going to see a lot of use requirements for tin. The world needs another 30% more tin by 2030 just to meet the EV demand. We last year produced something like 390,000 tonnes of tin, so it needs another something like 60,000 tonnes on top of that over the next 7 or 8 years. So there's a huge demand coming up, a huge paradigm shift, which I'm sure you heard about it in all the other metals, but let's not forget about tin, and that's why I'm here to try to draw your attention to it. ESG. Now, Wood Mackenzie said a year ago that 90% of the world's tin, and you can have a look at the list of those countries there, including China, Russia, Indonesia, that a lot of those are not ESG compliant. They're high-risk jurisdictions, 90% of them. So Venture Minerals at Mount Lindesay has a very unique asset sitting in an ESG. We can't help but be an ESG compliant producer for where we're located. So it's going to be a very rare asset, and going forward, if the constraints are on what supply is allowed to deliver to the market in terms of ESG compliance, then we're going to be well ahead of the curve there. I won't forget about tungsten, and obviously our friends in the US are very keen on this commodity, and they used to have a strategic stockpile back in the 80s, pre-Cold War. But tungsten is, like rare earth, controlled by China in terms of production and supply. For you don't know, tungsten is the second hardest ain't to diamond, highest melting point. You cannot substitute it. Same density as gold. It's used in, I suppose, armaments. So again, every time there's war in the world, the use of tungsten goes up. It's in semiconductors. It's in steel hardening, drill bits, etc. Carbon tungsten carbide drill bits you would have heard of previously. We have got a third of King Island deposit sitting within or next to and adjacent to our tin ore body. So it's sitting there, and it provides it's a co-product, provides around about 35-40% of the revenue. Tin's about 40 to 45%. So I won't dwell too much on this. 80,000 tonnes of tin metal, you can multiply that by the price and you can see the in-ground value. Obviously that's not what we'll produce, but we'll focus on that, the high-grade core at Mount Lindesay. It's zoned, it's not high-grade, it's not a narrow vein deposit, it's essentially an alteration zone, so it's this kind of blob of ore, and you've got, like I said, the magnetite, the tin, the tungsten all together. So we'll work on the underground study on that 4.7 million tonne high-grade core, and we'll look to optimise that over the coming 6 months and look to release a PFS on that towards the end of this year. Just to remind everyone, 70% measured and indicated, so we don't need to do any more resource drilling. So people ask me, why do I need more resources? Well, we permit this mine. It may go for 7 or 8 years. We need to be finding and drilling the next one, and that's what it's all about. But I'll just quickly touch on to the tungsten price, by the way, 100% higher since 2016. Tin, 230 to 250% higher, depending on the price of the day. But I'll just quickly touch on to the exploration. And this is Renison Bell, just down the road here. This is the Renison mine sequence, goes onto our block of land here. So we're actively exploring that area. Most of our resources are sitting at Mount Lindsay itself. There's a small high-grade tin pit on the Renison mine sequence. We'll just zoom into that now. And there it is. That's an alluvial tin field sitting in the valley. That's on top of Mount Lindsay. This is the Renison mine sequence. First hole we drilled, we got skarn mineralisation, which is a good indicator we're pretty close to ore-grade mineralisation. We then drilled an EM anomaly. Like I said, we've got 48 of these. This is 600 metres along strike. This EM anomaly turned, pyroxene hornfells with pyrrhotite. That's got EM response. That usually halos around the ore-grade mineralisation of Mount Lindsay, which is only 600 metres away. So we're actually following the granite contact down, and there's an apophyse or like a pimple of dikes popped up, and that's popped up there, and which is what Renison is. Renison is the same source, same granite that sources of tin at Renison, sources that at Mount Lindsay as well. And that's probably the best hole. That was a feasibility hole, met hole. We got 147 metres of percent tin, but there's your scheelite glowing, and adjacent to that, you got 3 metres at 5% tin. So we're definitely the infill drilling for met purposes is certainly showed a continuity. I'll just move quickly on to Chalice activity. 2 years ago, we signed a deal with them to earn 70% by spending $3.7 million. They need to spend $1.2 million to earn 51% by the end of July. You can see we're in that corridor. This is our Coolant Project. So an impact would be just next door to us there. So we've already got a holding in that area. Chalice, like I said before, they've identified this as a Julimar lookalike, and I'll just show you, the shot, the mag there, and you look at the Julimar complex and you look at our Tor target, it looks very, very similar. In fact, when they announced that, we pegged more ground around our area rather than pegging ground next to them, which they'd already completely pegged out anyway. But, we had airborne EM anomalies. We'd hit massive sulfides. We've got 2.4 metres of massive sulfide. I've got a piece of core in my booth if you want to have a look at it. It's got 0.5% copper, 0.05 nickel, 0.04 cobalt, and anomalous gold and palladium. And in the ground EM work done by Chalice, on this image here, they actually got EM plates, so ground EM plates, right next to our drill intersection of our massive sulfide, next to disseminated sulfide on these two other holes. So virtually they either nicked the plate of the ground EM plate or was right next to it. So we just missed out on it, and Chalice now on the ground testing those EM conductors at the moment. So look forward to delivering news flow over the coming months from their drill program. And that's where it is. Like I said, it's a 20-kilometre long target. Chalice have also committed to doing something like in excess of 700 auger saw program, which is highlighted, shown there in red, over the entire Tor target. There's a fair bit of exploration in the area. We are in a state forest. Having said that, we got all the approvals before Chalice came. They've obviously experienced in operating in that area as well. So they're on the ground doing that in parallel, trying to generate the next lot of drill targets to test. Just looking at plant activities going forward, we'll be working on the feasibility study while we're getting the permitting done. So the underground permit was lodged late last year. Exploration drilling has just recommenced. The iron ore mine's ready to go. I can virtually get a mobile crushing and screening plant on site on Monday, and we could start that. So we're just waiting for the iron ore price to improve, shipping to come down a little bit, of course. Like I said, in the southwest, we're drilling at the moment, so expect news flow over this second quarter. The Coolant Project, which I haven't spoken about, we're doing an airborne EM survey, which we've booked for probably Q3, and we'll do some more EM surveys on the ground at Golden Grove North, also probably around about Q3, Q4 this year. So just key investment highlights. Mount Lindsay is well positioned to take advantage of the strong EV market, but also the critical mineral markets with tungsten and tin was only one off the list. So tin may actually go into the critical mineral market, into the group, like it is everywhere else in the world. It's a critical mineral. We're targeting ESG tin production. We can't avoid it down there in Tasmania. It's already net zero emissions. And we're trying to find Australia's next new tin discovery. So I think that will also highlight, and we've got a very good chance of getting that from what I've shown you today. And also we look forward to Chalice's results over the coming quarter. We have a free option on the iron ore price, and we've got those other WA assets to boot. So thank you very much.